parasitic tick will continue to like churn things out and suck the money out of it until people. That's what they did with Guitar Hero. They churned out a Guitar
Tony Hawk,
Hero.
They did the same thing.
Yeah, they churned out one every 6 months, and then people were so sick of them that nobody cares anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what happens, and so it's refreshing to see a company like Insomniac, a company like Bungie, a company like Blizzard, a company like Valve. Even though they take forever, it seems sometimes to come out with those games.
Especially Valve. Half-Life 3 confirmed.
But when they come out, you can tell that a lot of work has gone into them, and it's appreciated much more on the consumer end. Like sometimes, I'll admit, I don't hate all Call of Duty games. Modern Warfare 1, you remember Call of Duty 4?
Oh, I love that game, man. That game was cool. Awesome. Because before that, because I remember when Call of Duty 4 came out, there was an oversaturation of World War II shooters on the consoles.
Yeah.
When Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1, Call of Duty 4 came out, that game was awesome because it was modern and fresh and new, and it was very edgy, and a lot of the stuff that we hate now was fresh back then, so we loved it. Like being able to pilot an AC-130 gunship, that was cool, or like sneaking through Chernobyl, that was awesome. And the story was a lot better in Call of Duty 4 than in any of the preceding Call of Duty games, because in the preceding Call of Duty games, they're all brash and in your face, where Call of Duty 4 was very quiet and sneaky and down to earth. Now, Call of Duty 4 had problems. I went back and played it recently, and it's very hard to get back into it because I find the hit detection is bloody awful in that game. But I would still rather play Call of Duty 4 over any other game of the franchise.
Yeah, it was superb, and they do deserve huge props for making that game.
Oh yeah,
and even I've enjoyed some of the other ones. I play with my buddy, and it's really cool. But then I'll play like Battlefield.
Shout out to HP Fanatic.
Oh yeah, shout out to HP Fanatic. Yeah, and but then I'll pop in Battlefield Bad Company 2, and it's like, right, this game is much better. This is what happened. Even I'll pop in Dishonored, which is a very short single-player game.
Oh yeah,
and I'm like, it's a million times better than
it's
Call
like
of
going
Duty.
from like club soda to like Pepsi. Or
exactly.
Coke.
Yeah.
So I mean, like club soda's pretty good, but then when you can just tell that Pepsi's like a better product, or like no name like toilet paper too, like Charmin, Charmin
like
also,
the Charmin like
Ultra
Free Fly or whatever.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
By the way, if one of my favorite jokes is when I think it might have been Louis C.K. who did it. He was like, "If you're too poor to afford the good toilet paper, then that's poor, because really that's the last expense that you want to like get rid of. Is like, no matter how poor you are, you want to have good toilet paper."
That's John Panette.
Oh, it is John Panette. Yeah.
And that was very funny.
Anyway, we're getting way off topic.
No, exactly.
Resistance, excellent multiplayer.
Yeah, Resistance 1, like, is all around good, and it was well accepted by companies like IGN, and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like a 9.8, was it?
No, I want to say it got a 9.2.
Oh, okay.
Something. It was like a 9 something. They liked it a lot.
Oh yeah.
It was just, I think that a lot of people.
It wasn't like Last of Us good, or like that.
Exactly.
It had the writing was okay, but it wasn't like I honestly think that Halo has a better story just because I just do, and that's not just me speaking.
I'm not actually inclined to disagree with that.
Yeah, but I will admit that Resistance is very, very, very good.
And I think it didn't get a lot of attention because it was the first PS3 exclusive.
Yeah.
Which is a shame but later on, of course, they came out with more games, right?
Yeah.
The first one was a success.
Had a really cool box art too, with just the the box art was of a World War II like U.S. Army helmet, but the skull that the helmet was resting on was a very clearly an alien skull. It had 4 eyes, like 4 eye sockets. I'm like, that's cool. Like I remember I was in Florida and I saw box art for that, like on a magazine. I'm like, I don't know what that game is, but I kind of want to get it. And I was kind of a little bit disappointed when it came out for PlayStation.
Right.
Dirty PlayStation 3 players.
Right, yeah, you're an Xbox this generation.
Yeah. Now PlayStation 4, that's like the best system ever.
But we both played Resistance 1, obviously.
Oh yeah, we beat it together.
Yes, we did. Yeah, the first Resistance game, and the second one, as it turned out, with the.
And we were about to beat the third one until something happened. We'll get into that a bit later. But
yeah, we will. But yeah, so Resistance 2 came out, and I was excited.
Yeah,
it was interesting. I was
excited. I was excited and disappointed that they had not improved their blood graphics engine.
Oh my! There's something about the people. There's something. If there's one thing to say about Insomniac, there's always at least one texture they get wrong.
Yeah.
In Resistance 3, I think it's fire. I want to say.
No, in Resistance 3, it's the ladder climbing.
The ladder climbing.
Because the guy climbs a ladder like he's some sort of like 1950s robot. Like it's like every other it's weird. Every other animation is smooth and fluid. You feel human, but in the ladder, but when he's climbing, it's like I am climbing a ladder. Yeah. It's very. In Resistance 1, it was the fire. Resistance 1 had terrible fire.
Oh my god.
And in Resistance 2, it was blood. The blood looked like somebody had like dropped like the Chimeran souls are running around. They get shot. It's like no, my jam. And like it's like raspberry jam is spilled onto the ground.
It did look terrible, which is strange because aside from that, it's a very pretty game.
Yeah, for the time, it came out like 2009.
Yeah, that sounds about right to me.
Hang on, I'll look it up. Yeah, it was 2009.
And we both played, but I think the story, cinematically at least,
2008. Sorry,
the story kicked up 5 notches. You know.
Oh yeah, it was because like it begins with an invasion of America by the Chimeran forces on the West Coast and the East Coast. So you're fighting in San Francisco, I believe. Yeah, it is San Francisco.
There's San Francisco. There's like Iowa.
Yeah, and a lot of really cool cinematics in that game because unlike the first one, they had fully motioned and fully voiced cinematics and some offer accepted. One of our favorite cinematics ever. But they kind of upped the ante with the story, but at the same time, I felt there was a lot of like it was kind of like oftentimes a cliched story.
Yeah, it didn't have the same. It didn't have the same
it wasn't
sort
as
of
gritty
raw element.
Yeah.
That the first one did. So I'm not sure. All in all, I'm not sure whether although the cinematics were really good, it's like I'm not sure which I like better. You know, it's a tough.
I know. I kind of like Resistance 1 just a little bit better for its like grittiness. It's still because in Resistance 2 you kind of have an idea what you're fighting at this point. You're but in Resistance 1 you're like it's still so mysterious. It's kind of frightening actually. Like it's oftentimes a little bit of a frightening game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, I will say that Resistance 2, it definitely had more of a budget behind it. I think.
I agree. Yeah.
Now, how's the multiplayer?
The multiplayer is really good.
Yeah.
And again, it's 60. This time they upped the ante. Did 64 players online, and it's pretty much lag free.
Yeah.
Still, which is just like I remember IGN being like, "Wow, this is crazy. How did they do this?"
Yeah.
It's
the equivalent of I guess putting putting a ton of bricks on a car and still having the car be able to drive, essentially. Like putting like a ton of weight on a car and having the car be able to like move as if nothing was wrong. Like that's insane.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And it was like with the multiplayer though is different because in Resistance 1 there's no recoil or anything like that. There's just your target.
To put it in perspective, Halo has at most 16 players online. Halo 3, which came out around the same time. Around the same time, had 16 players max. I think, and so, but 64 players compared to 16, that's insane. That's like what, four times? 4 times as many. Thank you, Rory. He's a math major. Everyone.
There we go. And it was cool. It was a little different because in this game there was more of a thing where you would aim down your sights.
Yeah. It wasn't so much run and gun.
It
like
wasn't
Halo.
so much run and gun and arcadey. And I didn't like that as much, but it was a change. And I appreciated change.
Yeah.
It didn't make it worse, it just made it different. And it wasn't trying to be Call of Duty, which I loved. It was just cool all around. I mean, there's nothing bad to say about Resistance 2, but we're going to take a quick break in 1 minute. I guess when we get back, do you want to start into Resistance 3?
Yeah, sure. That's the one I really like. That's my favorite.
Yeah, there's a lot more I think to say about that one.
Yeah.
So we'll be right back, folks, after these messages.
After these messages.
Listen to your heart. Check out the Friday Morning Markout every Friday morning at 8 a.m. on CHMR 93.5 FM.
I know there's something in the wake of your smile. I get emotion from the look in your eyes,
Are you working with a group? Do you need to have more space and a comfortable working environment? Then come into the Commons. We now have 6 collaborative workstations in place to help your group projects come together. These stations can accommodate up to 6 people at a time and can be booked online on our website. To learn more, please come visit us at the 2nd floor of the QE2 library or visit us online at thecommons.mun.ca.
Hey everybody, this is Astronautilus and you're listening